record on the environment is similar, well, to that of, let's say, West Coast this season. It's pretty damn poor. And just last week, the South Australian algal bloom was labelled one of the worst recorded harmful algal blooms in the world. And Dr. Donald Anderson, an international scientist and director of the US National Office for Harmful Algal Blooms, expressed concern that this bloom has become so large that it may no longer be logistically possible to neutralise it. And it's now one of the worst harmful algal blooms in the world, covering 4,500 square kilometres of South Australian coastline. It's twice the size of the ACT, and it can now be seen from space. And it's devastating. But one that could have been avoided if the state and federal Labor governments took some action, just some action, when they were first warned. Some action earlier than the 150 days that it took their Prime Minister to go down to South Australians when they needed him the most. And it's both the Malinowskis and the Albanese government's inaction and delay that has allowed this environmental disaster to spiral out of control, with all its impacts to the ecosystems of the Gulf of St Vincent and Adelaide's beaches. Australian scientists warned the government over 18 months ago of the impending disaster, but were ignored, and funding to monitor this disaster was also denied. And 5 months ago, Australian scientists again raised their concerns with this government. Crickets, tin ears. And since then, marine creatures started washing up dead on South Australia's beaches. And to date, that death toll has reached 14,000 and is climbing. Local fishing and tourism businesses have gone broke, hitting rock bottom. And only on the eve of Parliament returning last month did the minister finally take some notice, scuttling down to South Australia at the last minute to see this catastrophic disaster. And the Prime Minister and the Environment Minister have a lot to answer for. Answers that were not given to the good people of South Australia on his scuttle down to the state last week. He secretly jetted over to Kangaroo Island before posting about his visit on X. Shame. No media, forewarned, nothing. And when he did finally address the media hours later, he delivered absolutely nothing of substance. But that's classic Labor. They're all spin, no substance. And I have visited affected areas on three separate occasions, one of which was with the Leader of the Opposition a week prior to the Prime Minister showing his face in South Australia. Now, let's be frank about this harmful algal bloom. It's a natural disaster, and it's an absolute disgrace to see the lack of funding and inaction by this government. The Albanese government can find $600 million for a rugby league team in Papua New Guinea, but it could barely scrape together at his press conference an adequate funding package to immediately support South Australians. That is a slap in the face for those opposite who are having a giggle. It's a slap in the face for communities living through an environmental crisis that is devastating ecosystems. And if the Prime Minister genuinely cared about this issue, he wouldn't have taken so long to act. Remember, 150 days. And he would have made himself available to those severely impacted areas of Goolwa and on the Yorke Peninsula. Labor continues to fail in delivering anything of substance when it comes to the environment. There's simply no accountability, and it's simply not good enough. It is too little, too late for those coastal communities, families, businesses and fishers, and thousands of dead marine creatures affected by this harmful algal bloom. The scientists, don't forget, 18 months ago have been asking. 18 months. Those opposite will come in here and they'll try and spruik their environmental credentials, but they have failed. They didn't turn up, and when they did, it was too little, it was too late, and their credentials are absolutely all washed up. Shame on you, Prime Minister. Shame on you, Murray Watt, the Environment Minister, Senator Watt, for not being there for South Australians when they absolutely needed you to turn up and show leadership on this disaster of their ecosystems, this disaster for their families and small businesses, this disaster for the tourism businesses as well on the Yorke Peninsula. And let's not forget that the Gulf of Spencer is just around the corner, Prime Minister, so look out for South Australians.